Hey guys, it's Hart breaking down the 5-game NBA slate on DraftKings, going over my favorite early look core plays, a potential lineup build, all that good stuff in this slate breakdown. So make sure to hit that like button and let's get into it. Before I get into the breakdown, just want to mention and give a shout out to my free Patreon link down below, as well as you can find it on my Twitter, where I just go a little bit more in depth on the NBA slate, just more of a digestible format over writing, where you can check out the key injury news. I go game by game breakdowns with the spreads, game totals. I give a highlight of like who I'm looking at, some potential values from each side, as well as early look top options, early look building blocks. I will be adding prize pick plays as well, extra ones, a hot, cold list. All the good stuff will be in my free Patreon link down below. And then a recap of my lineup from yesterday. I missed cash by, 14 points here. Jose was pretty frustrating there. Only 25% owned. Would have expected more with CJ being ruled out. Pretty much the flat minimum price tag, and yeah, he just was super disappointing. He only scored, I think, 4 fantasy points in the second half. Brandon Ingram, the same thing. He was 40% owned. The dude had 34 fantasy points at halftime and only got 5 fantasy points in that second half. So that's frustrating. Max Strus was super great there at 41 fantasy points at almost 50% ownership. Nas Reed, it was just one of those things. I kind of fell on basically how I built my lineup around Jokic, and that news that Murray and Gordon were out. So I load up on Jokic and some other guys. And so I kind of got stuck with Nas Reed, kind of playing for the fact that hopefully Gobert got ruled out. He obviously didn't, so Nas Reed just really screwed me. But it didn't really matter because Jokic absolutely tanked my lineup. Mark Williams was decent, 50%, 28 fantasy points. Halliburton was great for me, 59, almost a 60 bomb there. Bruce Brown, I mean, I'm done. I'm done rostering that dude. He goes from like a very, very solid option, on the Nets beginning of the year for Denver, and now he's just got awful. The dude, first 9 minutes in the first quarter, he had 0 points, 0 fantasy points in 9 first quarter minutes. How is that possible? How? You don't get 1 point? You don't even get negative points? You're just doing nothing? Like, what? And then, 12K for Jokic. I was just extremely surprised he's only 15% owned. And then, when you're 12K and only go for 55 and you're not the highest scoring person on the slate, it's going to tank your lineup. And of course, I get like Jokic 4 games. And if you look at his stat line, it's kind of unreal because he shot 85%. He's 12 of 14, 27, 12 and 8, almost a triple double. But in DFS terms, it was not good at all. And of course, Mega Chalk Dame, 40% owned Dame goes for 59. He goes for 30 points in the second quarter. Super frustrating there. But yeah, I mean, stacking that Charlotte Atlanta game was really helpful. It was just super annoying because my original lineup, I had Gabe Vincent here. I also had Anthony Davis, and then I had Mark Williams down here, and I paid up for LaMelo Ball. I probably would have cashed a little bit better with that lineup instead. But yeah, not much you can do. Let's get into the breakdown. So getting into the slate breakdown, potential lineup build, early core plays. We're going to start off with Orlando and Toronto. A game I really don't have a lot of interest in. I think it would just be more of a contrarian game if you want to get pieces from it. Paolo looks decent, 7,200. He should see mid-30s. Same thing with Franz, Wendell, and Fultz. Those 4 will at least see 30-plus minutes in a normal game. So with that in mind, I do think my favorite 2 plays of that group of 4 would be Fultz and Carter. Fultz is coming off the best game out of the 4 of them. But it's been solid minutes from him. As you can see, 36, 32, 32, 33, 35. He's been shooting it in the mid-teens as well. So yeah, I mean, Fultz is a guy who can kind of stuff the stat sheet. So I think he looks decent there at 5,600. I do have some good interest in him. Same thing with Wendell. Should be a good matchup on the other end, whether it's Precious, whether it's Podol starting at the center. Wendell should see 30-plus minutes. His shot attempts aren't as great, kind of floating between like 8 to 12 to 13, depending on how aggressive he's going to be. But he does have some double-double upside. And if he gets a few blocks or steals, he does have that 40, 45 fantasy point upside. So with that in mind, I think those 2 would be my favorites. Cole Anthony's questionable. If he's out, it's just a little bit more minutes for a guy like Jalen Suggs. He should see mid-30s. He's very boomer bust. Don't think there's a need to get to him. Mo Wagner's a viable, risky GPP dart throw there. He should see 15 to 20 minutes. Gary Harris is starting. He saw 28 the past 2 games. I mean, you can go to him at 3,200. I don't feel great about it. It did really help out that he got 3 steals and 2 steals before that. Otherwise, he's just super, super scoring dependent. Not really a huge part of the offense. Jonathan Isaac seen about mid-teens minutes. Don't have to go there yet. So, yeah, just not a lot to like there on the Orlando side. Same thing on Toronto side. Siakam has been more productive in that small forward role. So it'll be interesting to see if they start Podol and Achua again at the 5 and 4. If they do that, I do have a good amount of interest in Siakam as a nice spin up option. Should be pretty contrarian on the slate. Van Fleet is kind of there at 9,200. Don't mind them. Same thing as Scotty Barnes. They're just decent secondary options. As obviously the big news is going to be Gary Trent and Precious. If one of them or both of them are in, it'll be interesting to see if they bring Gary Trent off the bench and you'll keep Precious and Podol in the starting 5, or if they slide like Podol out or maybe Achua out, bring one of them off the bench, or maybe Gary Trent's off the bench. We'll have to wait and see. But I think right now my interest is going to be in Siakam and Gary Trent if he does play, depending on if he's coming off the bench or starting. And that's really it. Boucher's minutes have come down, but he's still viable there. Not the best price tag for a guy who's going to see like 15 to 20 minutes. Podol, yeah, he's okay as well. So yeah, as I said, not a lot of interest. Moving on to Boston. Now, Boston is a tough side to break down as of right now, just because Tatum is doubtful, but there's a chance he still could play. Obviously, Brown's out. Smart's still out. Williams is questionable. Brogdon is questionable. It should be good to go. And then Grant Williams is questionable as well. So a lot of guys are questionable. And right now, just kind of with the news we have, I'd assume they're going to start Derek White, Malcolm Brogdon, Al Horford, Sam Hauser, and either Robert Williams or Grant Williams in the starting 5. So we'll kind of have to wait and see. There's a lot of blowout risk here. The spread is 9.5 right now. I'm assuming if one of these guys gets ruled out or two of them, then it'll balloon up even more. So a lot of blowout risk here. So a guy like Derek White at 7,100, he's just more of a contrarian option. I don't love the price tag. I mean, the minutes are there, the production's been there, but it's really, it's a lot safer to get to Derek White if Tatum's in. Derek White being like the sole main guy of this team, it's just very hard to trust. So it's going to be a contrarian option. Robert Williams at 6,000. I just don't love that price tag. It really helps with a guy like Tatum being back, but he's not going to be there. So I think right now my only interest is going to be Malcolm Brogdon. I wouldn't say he's a core play, just more of an interest play right now. Just kind of have to wait for the news. That's really it. Sure, you can take a shot on Sam Hauser. If this game blows out, he will still play. Maybe we can look to Pritchard here at 3,400. He should be in line to see some good minutes. So I do like him a good amount as well. That's really it. It's not a lot of interest for me in this side right now. Kind of have to wait for more news. Moving on to the Milwaukee side, I think Giannis is just going to be a solid contrarian spin-up option, 12-7 for him. Don't think I'm going to get there on the slates, but it should keep his ownership low. Holiday's always a decent option in the mid-range. Same thing with Brook Lopez. Prefer getting to Holiday. Don't love the price tag on Brook, but they're there in GPP settings. Same thing with Chris Middleton. You can definitely play him in GPP setting. He's actually been productive the past 2 weeks. Minutes have slowly started to come up. I'm assuming he'll still see mid-20s minutes. Obviously, it will not help if this game blows out. He will probably see less than that, so it's risky getting to him, but he's been productive. Connaughton is probable, so, there's just really no interest for me in that Milwaukee side. Moving on to a game I do have some good interest in. Sabonis at 9,600. I think he looks very, very solid. Fox, 9,100. He's been super, super hot recently in terms of scoring the ball. So if you want to ride that hot streak there, I don't mind it. In terms of the rest of the team, Hurt is always a viable option in tournament settings. We finally saw a decent game from him. 39 minutes, 38 fantasy points. Before that, he was very, very boomer bust. Very, very, he was pretty bad recently. So I like seeing that. We know he has that upside. Malik Monk's out, so it should be more minutes for a guy like Herter. Harrison Barnes looks decent. Still haven't played him yet this year. Don't think I ever will. Keegan Murray's there as well. Another okay option. Don't mind those guys. Still prefer getting to a Herter over those two wings. And then Terrence Davis had a great game. Saw 21 minutes because Monk got, I think, hurt in that Dallas game. And then Monk obviously didn't play in that last Dallas game, and he played 32 minutes. So he's definitely worth a look. 4,500, I think he's priced about right. That's more of a ceiling game there we saw versus Dallas. I'd expect anywhere from 15 to maybe 25 fantasy points from him, which makes him a solid value play. But that's really it. Trey Lyles is always worth a dart throw too if you want to get super, super risky. Moving on to Phoenix. No Durant yet, so Devin Booker, I think he's still going to be on a minutes limit. If he wasn't, I'd love him, but yeah, 9,400, he's going to see probably 26 minutes once again. He's been productive, but you still should not go to him. I think Ayton's a decent option here in the mid-range, 8,100. The minutes weren't great the past 2 games, 30 and 30, but we know he's the upside there, 56, 34, and 45. So he still has pretty solid upside, even with Devin Booker back. He had 45 that last game, so I think it looks decent. Chris Paul is just more of a contrarian option. Don't know if I'm going to get to him. Torrey Craig, same thing. It's just not a lot of interest for me in this side right now. I mean, maybe Josh Okogie. He's been seeing some solid minutes, 35 that last game, 4,600. If he starts again, I do like him a good amount. TJ Warren is back. It'll be interesting to see if he still gets, mid-20s minutes off the bench. If he does, we can go to him as a value play, but not a lot of interest in this Suns side for me right now. Moving on to Golden State and the Clippers. Now, this is going to be a very interesting game because we could get some huge news. Clay is possibly going to play, whatever that means. Steve Kerr sucks. So I'm assuming on a back-to-back, Clay will probably rest. So that means Jordan Poole, once again, is going to become a very solid play. I mean, he's coming off a bad game there. 4 of 11, dealt with some foul trouble, just really couldn't get into the swing of things there. But I do like buying back on him. With Klay Thompson probably going to be out, I think DiVincenzo becomes a very, very solid play there at 5,100. He should see around 30-plus minutes. He's productive, so I think he makes for a very solid value play. And then I do have an interest in Andrew Wiggins, even though his price is up. Draymond Green, priced a little bit too high for me. Looney makes for a solid value play there at 4,100. And then guys like Kuminga, Jerome, Jermichael Green, they'll get dusted off. I don't think there's a need to get to them. Maybe they see 15 to 20, maybe 25 minutes, but still, I'd rather get to kind of the main guys, unless we get news that Thompson's going to be out. Maybe Green sits, maybe even Wiggins sits. We'll have to see. But right now, it's just going to be Poole and DiVincenzo for me. Moving on to the Clipper side, it's going to be hard to get to Kawhi or Paul George just because Ty Lue did come out and say that, they're going to start slowly, ramping down the minutes, not ramping up, ramping down the minutes, kind of shutting down Kawhi and Paul George going into this All-Star break, just giving them less minutes, giving them some more rest. With that in mind, Paul George did play 32 minutes in that Milwaukee game. He was on pace to play his normal amount of minutes, so Ty Lue kind of capped there. It'll be interesting to see what they do with Kawhi tonight. Coming off of 2 games of rest. They have Plumlee back, so I don't love the price tag there. Right now, I think the interest for me would be Kawhi Leonard if you want to take a shot on one of the spend-ups. Powell, always a decent option off the bench, 5,900. And then Terrence Mann is a decent value option if he starts. But once again, they have a ton of guys back. They have Bones Highland, who should see some run. They have Eric Gordon. They have Mason Plumlee. So there's a lot of new mouths in this rotation. So I'd really just stick with Kawhi and maybe Norman Powell there. Otherwise, everyone else is kind of getting a little bit too risky to get to. So I think right now I'm going to throw in Kawhi, be a little bit riskier on the slate and kind of see how the news comes out about who they're going to start and what that starting lineup looks like. Moving on to Washington and Portland. Another great matchup here for Porzingis. It really depends on if Kuzma's in. If Kuzma's in, then there's really no interest for me. Sure, you could get to like a Beal, Kuzma if he's not a minutes limit. Porzingis, that price tag, don't think I'd get there. They'd just all be like decent secondary options. If Kuzma's still out, then I think Beal's decent. Don't love the price tag, even though he's been productive recently. I do like Porzingis as a solid spin-up option. And then he's got secondary options like a Denny becomes more viable. Gafford's decent. Morris, I think I like the price tag the most on him out of that kind of the mid-range secondary options on this team. But that's really it. Not a ton to like on Washington. And then Portland, Dame's been unreal the past month. He's just been shooting the ball fantastic. So it'll be interesting to see what his ownership's like. This man's been on an insane run. Looks like the best spin-up option on the slate so far. So we'll have to wait and see what the ownership's like. Jeremy Grant, we'll have to see if he plays or not. If he's out, they'll probably start Dame, Simons, Eubanks, Cam Reddish, and I think it was... Who was the starting 5? I think it was Lillard. Oh, and Matisse Thybulle. Matisse did get to start, flat minimum price tag. He saw 26 minutes. He was super productive, which is not normally Matisse. Did help that he got 3 blocks and a steal. But if he's going to start and see like mid-20s minutes, he's definitely viable there at the flat minimum price tag, even though he's not very good at the offense on the offensive side of things. Shaedon Sharpe looks like an okay value. He saw mid-20s minutes. He's actually been productive the past 2, which really hasn't been normally kind of his role. And so, yeah, I have a good amount of interest. Cam Reddish saw 19. Not seeing a ton of minutes, even though he's starting. Eubanks' price has come up to 4,400. So I think right now, interest is going to be Damian Lillard. Simons is just more of a contrarian mid-range option. But it really comes down to if Jeremy Grant's in or out. So right now, I like Dame a good amount. Obviously, looks like the best spin-up option in the slate. Then I would say next favorite play would be a guy like Nasir Little, who's seen mid-20s minutes. He's not going to shoot the ball a ton, but he could definitely get you there at 3,600. And then I will mention Matisse Thybulle. Flat minimum price tag, saw 26 minutes, shot it 9 times, so he was aggressive when he was out there. 4-6 from 3. Hard to trust that. But he's, productive defensively. So with flat minimum price tag, he's definitely worth a dart throw. So I'm going to throw him in there for now. Don't love that, but yeah, he's definitely worth a look. So I think I'm going to throw Dame in here in this lineup build. Then we're going to get to Matisse there. And then we get 3,900 left over. Let's see who we can throw in here at 3,900 left over. You could get to Kuminga, TJ Warren, get to go to center. Let's see who we're left with. Yeah, Kuminga there. I don't mind that, especially with Clay looking like he might not play. We can always take that dart throw on a guy like Mo Wagner, 3,600, who's been productive off the bench there in about 20-ish minutes. Maybe in that blowout run, Muscala, who's been seeing 16 and 17 minutes. He's been shooting the ball well off the bench. If that game blows out, he could see more minutes off the bench for Boston. So we're left with some solid options here, some solid value plays for the center position to punt with. Not a lot of strong center plays on this board right now. So yeah, I don't mind getting riskier and going to some value plays here. Always go to JaMychal Green. It helps if those other guys get ruled out. He's been productive. So yeah, I think right now we'll throw in Kuminga and just hope that just based off the news that Clay might not play. So this is kind of the early look lineup build. Obviously, it all changes with the injury news. So make sure to stay updated with me on my Twitter and on my free Patreon, which I'll have a post out later this afternoon. So that does it, guys. If you guys liked the video, hit that like button, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.